As we head past the CRC 556 cone, Jonathan Allard, Michael Pickens, your front row. Pickens, your pace setter. Gets a little bit left behind initially, but gets the run around the outside. They lock wheels, and both drivers up and over. And plenty of drivers go with them. Huge collision with the top drivers. SVG's caught up in there. Allard's hanging off the fence. Damage to Dean Cooper. Pickens up and over as well. And Zachary Sokol at the tail end, but Allard out of the car and walking over to the 54 of Pickens. So Allard not happy, bangs the wing of Michael Pickens. We'll wait to see how this one unfolds, but Allard is not a happy man, and the first red flag we've seen in a very long time here at Luxor Western Springs Speedway. So the safety marshal's directing Allard to the infield, but he is hot under the collar, and rightly so. He's not a happy man as he walks across the infield with Matthew Levisic, another driver that we talked up being caught up in this one here, and he is fuming. So, unfortunate incident there on the opening lap, turn one. Allard and Michael Pickens locking wheels. Allard walking across the infield to the pit gate. He's not happy, and rightly so. So we'll wait and see as things unfold here. But nonetheless, there's a couple of very sad-looking race cars, and it looks like the front of the top wing damaged there in SVG's machine, but he is still in the car.
No, he's walking across the infield.
He's walking across the infield, so there's the train.
All cars done, yeah.
So that's Allard out, Levisic out, and SVG as well as we see the replay here. So what happens? They get the run, wheels fly, they lock wheels, and I don't know. I don't want to call that Hayden, but man, oh man,
huge
look at that.
Impact to Matt Levisic there.
Yeah.
It's really good to see Matt walking out and under his own steam over here out of turn number 3. So, man, that was very hard contact when Levisic came in there.
So as we take a look at the replay here, Michael Pickens, Jonathan Allard, the front row, the wheels are flying on MP's car. So do you argue that maybe lack of steering? I don't know. It's really hard to try and judge that one, and certainly the drivers in the seat have the best perspective. And unfortunately, I can tell you, Matthew Levisic is probably the driver copying the worst of it down there, but unfortunate there for the 97 United Truck Parts Chems machine. This driver on screen, the 2NZ, Dean Cooper, an unfortunate end to what's been a pretty good night for the 2NZ.
I think it's a really hard one as well. When you watch it on replay again and again where we have that luxury, it does look like both drivers kind of head towards each other. One driver comes down and one heads up. So a challenging situation to call there, and really unfortunate we've got so many tore up race cars down there in turn number 1. But
as we said, different angle there. It's going to be, we could watch this.
Jonathan Allard and Matt Levisic went for a huge ride there, so it's really good to see both
Sokol's actually out of this as well. So believe it or not, we've lost the drivers starting 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th and 8th out of this one. So the driver that has now inherited the front row and the first 2 rows are going to be single cars with the 71A of Jamie Duff, and the second row all to himself is going to be the 89 of Luke Brown. So there's Dean Cooper down there at the pit gate observing the damage. Not happy drivers, not happy car owners, I can assure you of that. And nonetheless, never what we like seeing, but considerable damage there. And we've got plenty of angles coming to you here, thanks to the team at Perspective Group, but plenty of torn-up race cars there, Hayden.
Yeah, a lot of damage down there as we still see the 4 of Allard hung in the fence. So we're going to watch this replay once again. A pretty good start all the way down to turn 1. We do see Michael come down the racetrack, but as you mentioned, front wheels were up off the ground just a little bit, and Allard just delaying his entry to the corner as he's entitled to do as well. So it does just look like honestly a terrible racing accident, which has caused a significant amount of damage. As we also see, is that Kerry Brocas in the wall slightly further back as well. So
yeah, that's right.
Kerry Brokers has been pushed back and looks like he might be able to restart in this one, which is a silver lining there for an accident of this caliber.
Well, and at that as well, if he restarts here and even finished where he is now, he'd be sitting in P4. So that is the damage there to the fence at Lucas Oil Western Springs Speedway. So with the safety team down there on the infield with plenty of work to do as we get cleaned up down there. Graham Standring's down there observing the damage there to the SVG machine. And no doubt Graham will be able to come to us shortly with a bit of a review of the damage down there.
Yeah, I'm around the SVG car. The damage isn't really bad on this car. He slid into what was a catastrophic accident. So he's bent a steering arm here. So obviously this bar here bent connects to the steering box. So that stops him running. Damage to the wing and stuff like that. So really not too bad, but certainly not in a good enough condition to be able to run completely. But when we go across to some of these other cars like Zach Sokol, who's still in his car, still ready to race, but man, he just went and sort of winged first. The rest of the car, all the geometry and everything looks fine. We come across to this one, not quite so lucky here. Yeah, it looks like Zach will be getting a restart. We look at the all the cars that I picked, number 2, number 4 and number 4 are all here in a state of wreckage. The 2 car doesn't look too bad either. Again, another car that slid in as a consequence of what was ahead of him, flattened the left rear tyres and obviously tore up a wing. Unfortunately, the 78 car not quite so lucky here. A lot of frame damage. If we have a look here, there's a torsion bar that goes through from this side to this side, and it's bent it right around, and the front axle's all bent. It's really got wadded up there. So expensive repair on all these cars, and I'm not sure about Jonathan's or Michael's cars. We'll just take a look at Michael's car now. Man, it doesn't look good. Doesn't look. Yeah, it's true. It did spend a lot of the time in the air, and so as we walk around, I can't really spot anything that's, the tail tank, all these things are sort of repairable, but the frame at this point, from what I can see, doesn't look too. So hope it's okay for future racing, but just shows you the impact that it's had, and it's like pushed the tyre right off the rim and picked up all this mud as well. So yeah, it was pretty hard old crash, all right.
Yeah, so we're just saying here in the booth here, Graham, as we see the tyre rub marks up on the left-hand side of the Michael Pickens machine, but it almost sounds something like a eulogy at a funeral or something like that, Graham, down there with the wreckage. It's certainly a morbid old time, and there's that left-hand side damage there, and obviously where the car's interlocked wheels and jumped up against the Z-Build logo there on the side of that race car. So the team at work doing what they do best, and not what we like seeing here at Lucas Oil Western Springs Speedway, but plenty of damage, and no doubt Graham will have a lot more to come back to us with shortly. But Hayden, we were just saying as well, these drivey fast racetracks is exciting, and as fast as the racing is, unfortunately, when the cars jump around or interlock wheels and are in an incident, essentially, they bite, they dig in, they become really volatile, and you and I have both been, unfortunately, along for the ride in a couple of those as well.
Yeah, and I think sprint cars are especially unique, where they just generate so much power and so much grip, and they throw the front wheels up off the ground just like that. And so what we see is, as Michael picked up the front wheels and he starts kind of coming down the racetrack, I don't think either of those drivers in any world are going to lift into turn one.
No
so we've seen it 100 times before. We've seen it in Formula One, you see it in NASCAR, you see it in Speedway. So racing into turn one, it's so critical. And unfortunately, as you mentioned, with open wheel cars, they fly and they tangle so unbelievably bad. One of the only advantages that comes with sprint car racing is the wing does slow the car down a lot as it is flipping. So Jonathan Allard went for a huge ride there, but we're really fortunate to see him climb out, especially as quickly as he did. Hoping that he's down there in the pits doing all right, and all the drivers in there are okay.
Yeah, so as we say, just as we saw those different angles of the carnage there down on the approach to turn 1. Just the behaviour of the Pickens car and the way that the front wheels were up in the air and the back end of the car kind of came round. I'm sure, you know, both parties will obviously have their own take on it, but nonetheless, it's never a good sign seeing a Manitou pick up a race car by the back and essentially crane it off the racetrack. And no doubt Jonathan will not be a happy camper as we saw him walk across the racetrack.
It's also going to be a real tall task to get those cars repaired for the 4th as well.
That's definitely front cross because here all this up here.
So as we take another look a little bit further back here from this one, both drivers get off to somewhat of an easy start, even start here. Great looking start at that as well, dare I say it. And so, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure Speedway New Zealand will let them do their part of the job as well. But I tell you what, that number 4 machine of Allard, the way it came over the top of Levisage, he's a lucky driver, the way that car just skimmed over the top and ripped the wing off like it was a tin of baked beans.
Yeah, I imagine the damage to the Levisage car is probably going to be one of the more significant ones to those down tubes as well. The way he made contact so hard into Allard and kind of sent him flying there into turn 1.
Yeah, considerable damage nonetheless, and not what we like seeing in any way, shape or form. And looking at the Levisage machine there, Hayden, obviously it's torn off that wing, but it seems that a lot of the damage is predominantly to the front end of that race car anyway.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it from a front-on angle just to see if those down tubes have been pushed down or pushed across it. There you go. Kind of does look like that left side down tube in the front end is across to the right just a little bit, but it is hard to tell from the angle that we're on.
Yeah, and Graham Standring's still down there on the infield, and maybe Graham can have a little bit of a walkthrough maybe for the fans at home, and obviously you hear the spectators at the stadium as well, the extent of the damage of some of those other race cars.
Yeah, just looking at the Jonathan Allard car, it's really severely damaged. Certainly the rear end, the front of the rear end is smashed off, the back axle's bent, and the frame rail that the Jacob's ladder connects to, which is just here, is all damaged as well. So I've had a good look at Michael's car. None of them look any good, and it's the test strength of the cars that they're okay, but unfortunately they're not as good as the cars aren't. Yeah. Yeah, so if we can get a quick look inside the car while the cars are gridding up, this is a full containment seat, so it's Michael sits on there, he's got all the protection all around him, around his knees and everything like that. So because of that, we're not seeing anywhere near the amount of injuries that we had seen in the past, which is good to see. All the cars have got that now.
Thanks very much there, Graham, and always for us racers as well, past, present, whatever it may be, it's never nice, Hayden, to be able to see these cars sitting in such a sad old state, but I think a testament with open wheel, midget, sprint car, TQ racing in particular, is the teams and drivers turn these cars around so quickly and obviously turn out beautifully presented cars week in, week out, whether they have an incident like we're just seeing here or not. So great to see all the drivers first and foremost are still A-OK.
Yeah, we've had a good example of that with 3, maybe 4 separate examples over the past couple of days with Alec Inslee and Michael Pickens and Shane Van Gisbergen. So we've seen all 3 of those guys strip the car all the way back to a bare frame and rebuild it all the way back up within 12, 14 hours. So there's not much to these cars. At the end of the day, they are quite basic bits of equipment, and when you have all the equipment, you can rebuild them really quickly. It's just, in an accident like that, the damage can be so substantial that it is challenging.
Exactly, and look at this, ladies and gentlemen. The front 2 rows of our original feature are completely scrapped. So now it's left with the drivers that were set to start out of 5 and 6 is now our front row, which is Jamie Duff out of Canterbury and the 47 of Zachary Sokol. And the driver that's actually taken huge advantage of this, which I think Speedway New Zealand are going to have a word about, is the number 7 starting out of grid position number 10 potentially, because he was set to, as I say, start out 10, but he's now found himself up to 4. So we're seeing Keaton Dahm now jump up in front as well. And we'll wait and see. I don't know. I wouldn't want to try and organise these guys.
And have a look at the 47 of Zach Sokol. Have a look at his wing as well. There's so much damage to it, but it does look like he'll be going to the tail of this one. It seems like that's the instruction that's been given here. I think Keaton Dahm was just passing that message on. So what that means is we now have Jamie Duff starting off pole. We have Luke Brown starting off of 3, and then our first complete row on the grid is row number 3 with Keaton Dahm and the 7 of Kerry Brokers. So a bizarre looking starting grid, to say the least.
Yeah, exactly. So let's wait and see how this one plays out. But Jamie Duff in the box seat, and the lights are out, and we get set to go green for 20 laps. An intriguing looking start here for the 20-lap feature here at Luke Sylvester Springs Speedway. Jamie Duff off to a great start with Luke Brown in second. Keaton Dahm in the Valvoline number 88. Sitting in third, and Luke Brown gets a bygone down into minus turn number 1 and 2 and allows Keaton Dahm through into the second spot.
Yeah, Dahm with a gift there, but Brown works back to his inside out of turn number 4, but he's not able to get it done. Only pulls to about his rear bumper, but Keaton Dahm throws the front wheels in the air out of turn number 2, but he's going to hold on to second. But your race leader has checked in and checked out, and he is miles ahead.
That's it, and Jamie Duff out of Canterbury driving the Haikoki number 71, leading this one. Then we come back to the battle for 3rd and 4th on track, and it's the driver that snuck onto the podium here only a couple of nights ago. Chris Kernahan wants that next step on the podium as he breathes down the back of the ITM number 35.
Kernahan looking really good here as well off the top side at both ends of the speedway as Luke Brown continues to commit to the bottom side. And just as I say that, Kernahan follows him into the bottom of turn number 3. Next in line, Ryan Barry back there in 5th.
That's it, and Barry closing on entry, but loses it coming out as he hits the rut down on the pole line. And a lot of the drivers having a trouble down there on the entry to turn 1 as they hit that rut. But Jamie Duff navigating perfectly as Ryan Barry now gets a run on Kernahan.
James Dahm and Zach Sokol just working on Carl Fenton. Both of them are going to pick him off down there into turn number 1 as Zach Sokol makes a bit of contact with one of those ruts down there. But we're still single file for 3rd, 4th and 5th as Ryan Barry getting ever closer to joining that party. But one of these drivers is going to have to get off the bottom, and Luke Brown looks like he's the first one to do it out of turn 2.
He is, and Chris Kernahan wants to try and pick up the pieces and sneak up the inside, but Brown has just gapped it now, coming out of turn number 4 by a good 5 car lengths.
Jamie Duff a mile ahead, 3.4 seconds in front of Keaton Dahm. Luke Brown next in line, looks like he's got a bit of car speed up as Chris Kernahan has given up a little bit of track position as we see a bit of a puff of smoke out of Kerry Brokers back in 6th.
Yeah, and Chris Kernahan just opting to just move up a lane to try and help make his way forward onto the back of the Yale ITM Whangarei, number 89 of Luke Brown. So Jamie Duff, as we see our first retirement, as you mentioned, the smoke there, and the number 7 pulls to the infield. But I tell you what, it's great to see the 49C turning its first laps in anger.
Turning some smoke out of that thing as well as he heads down there into turn number 1, as it does look like there's actually a lane of moisture on the racetrack, so hopefully nothing too major coming out the back of your number 49 as Jamie Duff creeps to the outside of Carl Fenton side by side down the front straightaway, puts him a lap down, and next in line there is going to be Bailey Clive.
That's it, and we're past the halfway distance with only 9 laps left to go for the Haikoki number 71. He works that top shelf coming out of Solder straightaway and does a great job getting through there but there's definitely some moisture down here on that racing line coming into turn number 4. So potentially an engine expiry for the Spartan Toyota, number 7 of Kerry Brokers, as he retires to the infield.
7 laps to go in this one as Jamie Duff just picks off another one, and your lead is continuing to grow over Keaton Darm, who's committing to the bottom side and behind Richie Battersby, who just makes way out of his way down there in lap traffic. Back another decent set, probably about a straightaway advantage over your third place car of Luke Brown.
That's it, but no one has anything for this man here. He inherited the front row all to himself as the original drivers made contact early on here in the initial start. But Jamie Duff doing a great job. Nothing taking it off him. The Jamie McDonald owned race car, J.A. Russell, Haikoki, 71, leading this one with only 5 laps left to run.
Tell you what, Jamie Duff and those lap cars in front of him are turning similar lap times. So as long as he stays there, he's going to stay out of trouble. And he has a big enough lead that he doesn't have to worry about the car behind him, as there's only 5 laps to go and he's turning these laps away quick.
Yeah, and a driver that was actually relatively quicker than anyone else last time by was Ryan Barry. So the driver's deep in the pack, actually turning faster lap times than the leader. But still, he's got track position and he's using it well.
Big line as Carl Fenton gets up out of the groove, but Jamie Duff continuing to turn the laps away here as we only have 2 left to go here at Western Springs Speedway. Heads into turn number 1 as we've got a huge battle on our hands for third, as lap traffic thrown in there as well. We've got Chris Kernahan, Luke Brown currently holding on to it, but Ryan Barry trying to get closer as well with only 2 to go.
That's it, the white flag out for our leader this time by, so only 3/4 of a lap left for the man in this machine. The 71 of Jamie Duff, the man out of Canterbury, making his full season run out here at Luxor Western Springs Speedway, and he takes victory in the 20-lap feature here. Second place, Valvoline, number 88 of oh, we've got 1 off, and that actually looks like Zach Sokol down at minus turn number 2.
And it's actually stripped the tyre off the rim. It looks like the rim is still on the car. No, the hub is still on the car, but it's torn the rest of the wheel off the hub. So Zach Sokol fortunately climbing out of the car there. Unfortunate timing too, with only 1 lap to go there, but no questions about your race winner with a 5.6 second advantage there on screen. Jamie Duff winning tonight's feature over Keaton Darman second, and 89A of Luke Brown with a podium here at Western Springs Speedway.
Yeah, great drive there for Luke Brown. We were talking about him, and I believe, was it Nick Brown that actually picked him for a podium? Results on screen confirming that. Jamie Duff taking victory there from Keaton Darm. Luke Brown with a great podium there in 3rd. Chris Kernan in 4th. Ryan Barry rounding out your top 5.
It was me. I did pick Luke Brown, so that's 2 Browns coming off. 3rd place in the sprint cars, 3rd place in the 50-lapper. We'll be talking on the podium for those guys a little bit later on. If you want to catch up with that, then you can just sneak around the back around here. Ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready for another great race coming up in just a couple of days' time. The celebration is, there he is, the celebration on the wing. Jamie Duff, he's a happy man. He's proud of that, the 71 Hikoki car. After such a traumatic start to the race, what a great finish to the race. Graham Standard will be popping in there. There he is, small smiles. Jamie Duff, ladies and gentlemen.
Congratulations from the team, but Jamie, that was a pretty well-rehearsed wing dance there. You've done it once or twice before.
I've done it once or twice, but never here, so it's a pretty special win for us tonight. It's not the way we want to get it with half the field crashing out, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that was quite an incident in the first turn. You're lucky enough to sort of left and right and dodge it all.
Yeah, well, I spun the wheel off the start, so I was way behind it. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Good job. Certainly got the thing going tonight. Looked like a little bit loose towards the end of the race.
Yeah, probably lost a little bit. We're just working on slick track stuff. We've struggled in the last couple of weeks, and I feel like we're on the right track.
Well, ladies, put your hands together. Jamie Duff, his first feature win in Western Springs, and probably his first feature win as a married man.
Yep, first win as married man, yeah.
Good job. Okay, and second. I'm standing now with Keaton Darm. Keaton, good job there, coming right through, second place. Just like Jamie, you're lucky enough to miss all the carnage at the start.
Yeah, I mean, you're always sort of looking for a bit of carnage at the start of the race. So I saw John 45 degrees to the track and just bailed fast, but a little bit weird when you start ninth and get second and you only pass one car the whole night. So hey, it's a little bit surreal to be second after a pretty average night for us, but hey, you take it.
Yeah, you certainly do. The Valvoline sprint car really got going. It looked pretty good all night, actually.
Yeah, we just battled in the first heat race, just a poor position behind two slower cars, but that's all right, that's life. Yeah, just can't thank Valvoline, Z Energy, Hydrolink, all the guys on the car. Can't thank everybody enough for helping us. We'll be back in 2 days and give another go, throw some new tyres on, rev it up.
Okay, well, good luck with that, ladies. Keaton Darm, second place in the sprint car feature tonight. And first time for a podium at Western Springs. Luke Brown. Those of you that have come from Waikato Park are probably quite familiar with the name Luke Brown. Luke Brown's a 2-time or 3-time modified champion, but just moved to sprint cars. So this is your first podium.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is our 5th meeting in the sprint car, so you're really loving it. It's a cool class. It's hammered down. Good bunch of in the class, so yeah, just really proud. I'm really happy for the team. Still kind of getting to grips and kind of finding our feet, so yeah, just really loving it, loving the atmosphere, and yeah, couldn't ask for much more.
The transition from Waikato with the modified, not too different from a sprint car?
Yes and no. The biggest thing I'd say is the sensitivity. Imagine playing PlayStation and turning the sensitivity from 30% to 100. The modified's quite heavy, lethargic. You've really got to tell it what to do, get it dinner. The sprint car's super nimble, super lightweight, and you've got to be finesse with your movement. So luckily my driving is relatively straight and smooth anyway, so the transition is going okay, but just learning every meeting. We're trying things, we're learning, we're having fun, so that's what it's all about.
Well, we'll see you back again here again in 2 nights, but ladies and gentlemen, in 3rd place in the sprint car feature tonight, Luke Brown.
Cool. Thanks very much, Graham. Cheers.